Here we are. Hi, Rosanna.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm tired, but I'm doing well. The
Good.
heat, the humidity, I shouldn't say I didn't expect it. You know how it is. We're in Canada. Anything's to be expected. It was only a few years ago I had in my Facebook, it came up that it was hailing yesterday.
Right.
I
Yeah,
guess I'll
bathing
be
suit
thankful.
one day and snow coat the next day.
Who knows what's going to happen, right?
That's right.
So I always start these off by explaining, one of the reasons I'm doing these, a lot of people out there's a lot of people need a lot of healing. The collective is in a big state, as we've all seen in terms of what's playing out in the collective with the energies that are surrounding us and what's within us. So one of the things that needs to be done is the energies need to be cleared. People need to heal in so many a variety of ways. There's so many things that need to be done, and there are so many. I do medicine work and shamanic work, but not everybody is up for that either. They either don't understand it, they don't believe it, or whatever. So because the majority of the collective are people that are looking for various ways other than those types of spiritual, sometimes, and other things. Although I'd say most things that we do are spiritual, but anyway, something that's in a different form that people seem to resonate.
Right. There's so many different modalities, right?
Well, this is it. So this way it gives many the opportunity to resonate with something that can help them going forward, however that looks. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing and have been now since December, is in order to help everybody, on both sides, for us to help people and people to come to us and go, you know what, that was really cool. I'm really curious to know what this is about. Can you tell me more? So, so we'll get into this. We'll dive in a little bit about Rosanna. Rosanna Fiorini. She is a bioenergetic medicine practitioner, working with men and women to improve the quality of life by determining and addressing the root cause of the imbalances in overall health. In addition to that, she also teaches a course called Courage that works on the psychological resiliency and goal achievements. So maybe start off with who you are, maybe a bit about what you did before, what you're doing, and how you got into this and that type of thing, a little bit of background so people know a little bit about who you are.
Sure, absolutely. My name is Rosanna. I actually am a full-time teacher as well. I teach grades 7 and 8 currently, and I've been doing that, almost done 20 years of that. About 7 years ago, though, I was very sick. I would get out of bed and I had a lot of hamstring pains and just leg pains in general. And I'm also very athletic and played a lot of sports my whole life. So I just accounted for just wear and tear. So after ultrasounds and physio and chiro, told, oh, everything's fine. You don't have any issues. And I said, well, that can't be. I'm 35 years old and this is not right that I actually can't get out of bed. So they didn't know what was wrong. So the doctors were going to just diagnose me with fibromyalgia. One of those, we don't know what's wrong with you, so we're going to give you this name because it matches a whole bunch of symptoms that you have. So that didn't sit well with me. I didn't resonate with that. I said, no, something else is up. So I kept exploring and I guess manifesting. All of a sudden, someone came to me and said, hey, you should try this fascial stretch therapist out. And I went, okay, because I'm at my wit's end. I'll try anything right now. So I went to him and he said, well, I'm not just a fascial stretch therapist. I'm a bioenergetic medicine practitioner. And I went, well, I don't know what that is, but sure. So he started talking. He started asking me questions about my bowels and, other personal things. And I went, what does this have to do with anything? And he said, you'd be surprised. The systems all work together. And I went, okay, well, let me try this. So I worked with this man, Jason Prasad, for a year and a half. And it was all gut related. And because I had a leaky gut, inflammation was soaring through to my joints and in my muscles. And I worked on my gut and all the pain went away. And I went, okay, I need to do this. So I went back to school. My undergraduate is in kinesiology and health science, naturally, anyhow. So I went back to school to study some functional medicine. I took a course on the software that I use in when if a client comes and sees me. And then I've had my business running now for, I don't know, three years now. And so what it is, bioenergetic medicine, is basically involves using biofeedback from the body, using the meridian points on your hands and your feet to assess and address energy according to your internal health. It's also referred to as EAV, which stands for electrical activity according to Vol. So basically how that works, I can do it distant or I can do it in person. So if you were in person, you'd be holding on to two metal probes. I have something like it looks like a pen. It has like a stylus at the end, and I literally put it on the meridian points. It's kind of like Chinese traditional Chinese medicine points, and I assess the baseline of organs and systems. So if an organ or system is balanced, it will come out in a green zone, and that means great. I don't have to touch it. It's balanced. If it comes out in a yellow zone, it means it's slightly stressed. If it comes out in a red zone, it means that that organ or system is weak. People ask, oh my gosh, am I going to have a heart attack? It doesn't diagnose. It's not diagnosis. It just picks up the energy imbalances. So, for example, I can also detect virus frequencies. And I talk about frequencies a lot because we're all made of frequencies. You have your cell phone, you go in an elevator, you lose a frequency. So you can't talk, you can't communicate. Well, our body works the same way. If we don't have good frequency between our cells, then that's why we can have imbalances in the system. So after I figure out what the baseline is of our organs, I have samples of vials of all the plant-based remedies that I use on my clients, and I put them on a metal plate that's attached to the software. And you're holding on to the software, so it's as if you're taking this remedy. And I recheck the organ, and I say, hey, does the energy of this medicine, this plant-based medicine, work for mother owl, let's say? And I retest that point. If it doesn't work, it will continue to stay in the red zone. It'll say, no, this is not the frequency that will help balance out. If it does resonate, it will go into the green zone. And then I know, aha, we're on the right track. For example, the large intestine is a pretty big one. People have a lot of either constipation issues or diarrhea. And so I say, something common that I like to use is something called nat colon to tonify the colon. It's like a mini binder. It helps people go to the bathroom a little more regularly. And I put that on the plate, and usually that's what balances people out. But sometimes it's actually not a colon issue. And that's what people don't understand, that our organs also produce emotions as well. And so imbalances are not only physical. Physicals, like we're human. That's like the baseline level, but we're way more than human as well, right? We're spirit, we're soul, and so we're emotions. So a lot of times something physical might not fix what appears to be a physical symptom. The root cause is not. So I had one girl, for example, mom came with her and said, my daughter's constipated. She can only go to the bathroom once a week. And I went, okay. Oh, yeah, I know that's pretty backed up and pretty toxic, right? And so I said, okay. I said, and upon talking with her, this girl, she was 13, grade 8, a little overweight. I can tell she was insecure about her body. She wasn't doing so well in school. She wasn't doing so well with friends. She seemed very anxious. And I said to mom, hey, I'm going to try out this nat colon vial on the plate, but I have a feeling that this is not the root cause issue. I don't think her colon is the issue itself. And so mom says, okay. So I tried it, and lo and behold, it stayed in the red. And she says, I don't get it. How did you know that? I said, well, based on my conversation, I'm having a good vibe here that it's more emotional. So I have a remedy called Heart Song for the endocrine system. It addresses transgenerational trauma as well as the heart, mind, and body. And I put that on the plate, and it went right into the green zone. And I said, metaphysically, the colon stores emotions. I said, she's literally holding on to her own, what. And mom's like, okay, it was hard for her to believe. I said, give it a go.
It is. People have a really difficult time wrapping their head around
the metaphysical.
What goes on with us outside of the actual physicians and their diagnoses.
Right. Right. So mom said, okay, I'll give this a go. She called me back the next week. She goes, oh my gosh. She goes, she's already going 4 to 5 times a week. And I said, right. I said, okay, now I know, it was amazing. I said, now that we know, we also need to now look at your daughter and address these issues. Now we need to say, okay, like what's going on in your life? Like what's causing it so it doesn't continue to happen again. So, that's a success story that I really like to see. So yeah, so I really just love to help other people figure out their root cause. And it could be a physical thing, right? Like you break your arm, you need to cast it. Like that's physical, but it could be something else as well. So I enjoy doing that. And then along my journey as well, I really was getting into the emotional stuff. Okay. And I had this hip pain for the longest time as well, where I would be sitting like this and I would get up and it would buckle from under me and just buckle from under me. And I went, okay, doctor said there was nothing wrong there either. So I went, okay, this is crazy. So I went to, this is unrelated, but I happened to go to a Reiki master, and she's an intuitive. And I didn't say anything to her about my hip pain. And afterwards, after the session, she said to me, your left hip pain is from your mother. And I literally had this face. And I went, what are you talking about? She goes, yeah, that's it. So I went, okay. So I went home and I reflected upon that. I had another practitioner who does emotion code, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And I went to her and I said, can you please do emotion code on my left hip? I want to see what comes up. So we did it. And what came up was I had a trapped emotion of abandonment from my mother at age 3. And here I am at like 37 years old. And I went, abandonment? I said, I grew up in an Italian family. My mother was a stay-at-home mother. I don't understand. And then it just clicked and I went, oh my gosh. And I literally gasped when, and she said, what? I said, when I was 3 years old, my mother was pregnant with my sister, had a difficult pregnancy and had to be hospitalized for a few months. So she shipped me off to leave me with my aunt, to live with my aunt for a few months. And I said, and that devastated me as a child. And I didn't realize that what had happened was I did not process that emotion. As a 3-year-old, I couldn't handle that. It was very overwhelming. So what the body does is takes that emotion and kind of puts it to the side and balls it up so you don't have to deal with it. And it's been in me that long that it finally manifested physically. And the left side's the feminine side, right? So, and that was my mother. And as soon as she released the emotion, that hip pain never came back again. So I also decided to become an emotion code practitioner, which literally finds the emotions and releases them. So I do that as well. And then that prompted me also to become a Holy Fire Reiki master as well. And I do that. I do Reiki and emotion code actually all distant because I'm intuitive as well. So I will sit and focus on all of your chakras and I get messages from source, spirit, however you want to call it. And I give my clients a 3 to 5 page report where some of it actually manifests as a psychic reading 3 to 6 down the road from them. So, I love learning all these different modalities because people need different modalities. Some need that more physical aspect. Some need that more emotional. Some need that more vitality. So I've learned to do all those. And with the bioenergetics, I didn't explain how I can do that distant. Same way, except with a hair sample. I use myself as the surrogate, and the hair goes on the metal plate, and I set the intention, and I ground, and then I get, I'm now in your energy per se, and I use the vials, and I use my meridian points, but it's actually your frequencies that I'm picking up. So so that's a little bit about me and everything about what I do.
How does it feel? How does it feel when you're teaching? Especially when you're intuitive, and I mean, that's me as well in day-to-day life. And every now and then something comes up. How do you navigate that in a curriculum type atmosphere, working with kids?
Okay, so it's interesting that you say that as well. With
That's more my curiosity than anything. I'm very curious.
It's a little harder with the children because there's a curriculum that I also need to address. And actually that will bring me to the next point about the Courage program. So it's a good little segue actually, but
that's okay. We're going to get into all those modalities as we go anyway. So that's fine.
It'll flow. But with the children, I at least try to have a session or so a week, and I call it like wellness. And we talk about things that make them uncomfortable all the time, and things that they don't normally get. Kids don't really like to talk about their emotions. And nowadays school is not the same as when you and I went to school. where we were outside, we were using our imagination. We weren't inundated with technology that
totally different.
That's numbing our pineal gland and not being able to be as intuitive anymore. So it's when I'm working with my students, it's bringing all that back to light. And I think the way that it works is that I have to create a safe environment for them because they're just so used to being on their own and hiding behind a screen, pretending to be this person that they're really not. And so we have what's called restorative circles. So sort of like very indigenous, like where we will sit in a circle so everyone sees one another, and we will practice speaking and sharing without judgment, and making everything feel safe. And I do talk about these different things like emotions and whatnot, but resonated on a level that's to their understanding. So, for example, we did an activity. There's something called Pluckett's Wheel of Emotions, where it has all the different emotions on the wheel. Mm-hmm. And I asked the students, I want you to create a planet that, what if you had to have a planet of what your emotion was, mostly on a day-to-day basis, what would the name of your planet be? We studied all these emotions, and it's very interesting how most of the children picked a very low vibration emotion. They felt frustrated, angry, sad, and that was the majority of their day. And lonely, right? And so those who felt comfortable would go around and share why that is their planet. And it was very sad to hear what's really going on. It was a really good opportunity for children to see that they're not the only ones. That was the best part of that. And then everybody supported one another. And then we talked about how we can move. We don't need to be stuck on one planet. And so what are the different strategies? And we talk about the breath work and, affirmations and visualization. And so that's how I address it in the classroom. But it's like not enough. I find that the school system today doesn't allow it for as much. So I'm currently also creating a curriculum for students. So I do teach a program called Courage for adults, and it is a psychological resilience and goal achievement course. And it's an attempt to bridge the spiritual and scientific community together because they're actually both saying the same things. Mm-hmm. And the science is kind of what backs up the spirituality, right? So Reiki is something more spiritual. Well, science can back that up, right? Motion code is a little more spiritual, but science can back it up. So it's trying to bridge that gap. And it involves, something called, we all know about IQ, right? Intelligence quotients, the ability to learn, recognize patterns. We all know about EQ, emotion quotient. So maybe not everybody knows, but the ability to recognize emotions and to empathize with others. But AQ was coined in 1997, and a lot of people don't know about it. It's called adaptability quotient.
No, I don't know about that one. That's
and that was coined in 1997. It's called adaptability quotient. It's a measurement of longevity, success, good health, but we don't really talk about it. And so it's when something strikes your nervous system, how hard does it actually hit you? So, we don't want, we don't want our parents to die, but we also know that it's better if our parents die before us. So when you're faced with adversity, how hard does it hit you? Right? That's one part. And then the second part is, how can you adapt in that moment? So the psychological resiliency part is teaching people to be mindful. Yes, we do know our traumas. We're very aware. A lot of people take trauma courses. Yes, I'm aware of my trauma. I'm aware that I was sexually abused. I'm aware that I was in poverty. I'm aware that I lived in an addictive home. My parents were drunks. We're aware of that, but a lot of people don't know how to regulate their nervous system at that given point in time. So we'll talk about that, but then we don't talk about how to be mindful. So that program teaches you how to be mindful and to de-escalate the nervous system. We do a lot of brainwave talk and breathwork applications and things like that. And then the goal achievement kind of goes along with it. And it's on a spectrum of like spirituality, neuroscience, psychology, philosophy. And so that program, which is a 3-month container, is now being condensed for what I'm creating is a children's program for it. So we're doing the same sort of thing, but we're teaching children how to basically teach them soft skills like time management, introspection, personal relationships, so that it impacts positively on academics, relationships with others, extracurricular activities. And so that, they're not adults going, what the heck, where did I go wrong? I feel this way. So that they're actually more self-aware at a younger age so that they prevent all these emotions from being suppressed. So, and then learning how to do taxes and things like that too. Things that are more important in life than, can I hand in this assignment on time kind of thing. Right. So
beautiful. That's what we need more of.
Yeah. So
like that's one of the things that, I mean, I have an 18-year-old who, we won't even get into what I feel about what they do for he's very high functioning. In fact, you would not know, he's almost borderline in terms of autistic, but he has just enough there that it gives him that little something once in a while.
Yep.
And unfortunately, going through, he learned differently than most. So bullied consistently from the time kids start to realize there's something a little different.
Right.
And it wasn't that they noticed it different with him, but it's because he was actually getting the extra help. It was the only thing that put that out there that, he was that one that needs that little extra something. Anyway, so, it's one of those things that I look back and I wish the hell there had been this type of stuff going on for him because, in the long run, as he's gotten older, and he's very intelligent, very philosophical, intellectual. And, it's one of those things that he's often, he's always said, Mom, why did you allow me to have this in that curriculum? Because they have the high functioning, low functioning, but in essence, they're all pretty much.
Right.
He was going into classes where he was making his own bed, cleaning his room, and they were teaching them to make their bed and recycling. And he's going, but this isn't doing anything for me. But he was having that bit of a challenge learning like a regular kid. So he was getting put into these classes. So, something like what you're doing, I guess the point that I'm getting to is that, that would be fabulous because that is something that I know he often gets very angry about because he really feels, and so do I, that unfortunately I'm not happy with what they do with the curriculum for kids with those disabilities because I know it's all a learning process and it was a beginning process and everything else, but it in fact hindered. It did not help him moving forward. It actually hindered him. And in fact, it's hindered him now. He's going through a lot of mental, emotional type of stuff because Right.
You kind of signaled him out a little bit and, he already had the pressure on him. And then now there was a little bit more, and in my teaching career, half of my career has been in special education because I really feel for the kids because they already feel excluded because they feel dumb or they can't learn. Meanwhile, the system only teaches one way. And the system.
Well, he didn't feel dumb. I think for him, it was just the reaction of all the other kids. He couldn't make friends because he's like what they used to call when we were in school, the SPED kid, the special ed. Yeah. They always got a name, and then there was the bullies, and they took it a step further. So,
you're right.
That's the biggest hindrance and crutch, I think, for these kids is that they need something.
That's right.
Other than, right?
That's right. Than being labeled all the time. Yeah, it's very interesting. So with this program, we're initially running it as I'm building the curriculum out. We're going to be initially running it. We're beta launching it in China, actually, because we're working with a college admissions agency to help children, navigate from high school to college. Now there's already sort of a program for those grade 9s, but so we're targeting more grade 6 to grade 8 for that. So we're beta launching that in September. So, and then this summer in North America, we're doing like a pre-beta launch. So just like a 4-week kind of quick, here's a taste of what we're going to do, because our goal is to be able to help everybody all over the world, not just in China, but, we're starting there. We'll get our testimonials there. And then we're doing a pre-beta launch here. So for 4 weeks, once a week, just, children on a one-on-one container, kind of like as if it was you and I, and doing like a week of AQ, that adversity quotient, and then a week of like goal setting, and then the last 2 weeks of practical applications, just to kind of give them a little bit of a taste. And then if them and their parents are like, oh, yeah, I think this is going to be kind of helpful, then they can enroll in the 3-month Courage program. And then that would be, going deeper. And it's very personal, is geared towards their needs and their achievements. And I think eventually the goal will be to have a few physical spaces all over the world. Like I really envision like a a ranch style house with, you go to school and there's no set, you do math at this time and you do language. It's kind of everyday learning. Don't bring your lunch. We're going to cook together based on what we've grown. And yeah, so it's,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, I really want to see
if only school would go that way.
Right. So it's, and like I said, I've been teaching 20 years now and I love teaching, just the system doesn't resonate with me anymore, which it's the last few years I've been guided elsewhere and been pushed by showing me a lot of shadow. I've done a lot of shadow work to get there because I needed to see the mess that's occurring in order to build.
And that's how it goes, right? That's what happens. The universe steps in and it's like, okay, here, now's the time. This is what needs to be done. And here you go. And, we kind of resonate with something and there you go. And then you're off and running. That program that you were talking about. So is the beta. So is that the one that you call the psychological resilience and goal achievement, or what was that again?
So the one in the summer that we're doing for kids is a pre-beta. So it's kind of a taste of the courage program that we're going to run.
Okay.
Just kind of like a teaser, like an appetizer, like here's, because some people don't want to invest in the full 3 months. They kind of want to say, hey, what's this kind of about? It's a nice thing to do even in the summer. Like I'm offering it for either 4 weeks in July or 4 weeks in August. It's just once a week for 4 weeks. So 4 hours just to get a taste of what it is. And then, if people join that and they like it, then they can join the 3 month, get a little bit of a discount because they've done the summer one, and then join the 3 month container. And then after that 3 month container, there'll be a part 2, which hasn't been like quite mapped out yet, but now that they have the basis of resiliency, then it's taking that and getting them to be entrepreneurs. So it's getting them to say like, hey, what do you want in life? What do you want to work on? And that's where the goal setting and the time management comes in, and get them to be creative with a project, because there's not creativity.
Around when my youngest was, I said, he's 18, he's almost 19. So, those are the kind of things now, that he's kind of looking at himself now and kind of just shaking his head at everything. But, right.
Well, remember, I do it for adults as well, right? It's a little bit more in depth with adults because they're able to better understand.
Matter of getting him to engage with anything right now. He's been so disillusioned with everything. I think in time it's coming, but right now he's just at a very awkward stage. So,
yeah, he's figuring things out. You say 18, 19, that's tough.
Like his anxiety and depression as well. So that whole thing has been a real challenge to navigate.
Oh, absolutely. So it's, like you're doing, it's a community of healers, right? So I'm trying to do what you're doing in a different way as well. And trying to send out love and gratitude and make people feel welcome and realize, we're all part of the collective. Like we can all help and support each other. And there's different ways that you can receive that support. If this way doesn't resonate with you, maybe you can try this modality. Just, you can dip your toe in different areas and see what works for you. That's how I figured it out. Right.
Oh, yeah.
So my learning was experience, was hitting rock bottom and experiencing and figuring out, hey, this is what I like. And so then I pursued, I found something else. I pursued, I created. And so I'm forever learning.
That's what we do. The same with me. In a different way, I have different modalities that I have been spiritually, kind of thrown into, with different capabilities and different things that I'm capable of doing now with spirit's guidance and spirit through me.
Right.
So, it depends on what resonates with people. Again, and this is why I do what I do, what I'm doing, because it's really important, because there are so many people out there and so many that really could use a hand. And
they just don't know what they don't know.
They have no idea where to go because this doesn't resonate. I don't believe in that. I'm not too sure that would work. They need that something.
Right.
But when you get information for this, this pre-beta and the other stuff that you're doing, whatever you have, I'll make sure when we post this that we include something for that, because I think that's going to be amazing. I think that's beautiful.
And I'll put you in contact with the founder of it. So that company is called the Human Potential Academy. And under that company, so we have like the different sort of branches. So we have the academy, that's the courage curriculum. And then from that is the youth academy. And then we have events and retreats section. So like heart harmony, breath work sort of things, yoga, all those sorts of things. And then the third branch is the practitioner division. So that's like EAV things I do, or, Eastern sort of medicine. So those are the three areas. So I will definitely put you in touch, because I think you would love to have either Matthew or Brian on, because they can go really in depth of how they actually developed that program. And then that's, they're just another section that resonated with me. And that's why I got into it. And now I took the courage program.
Right.
And then I realized how much it's needed with my bioenergetics, because a lot of clients, they get stuck. They're like, okay, I know I need certain protocols, but then there's a barrier, and that could be psychological. And I said, I need something so that I can then support their psyche as well and work on their resilience, because for whatever reasons, they're not able to commit. They end up in action paralysis, for example, or cognitive dissonance. So this is something that maybe an alignment that they would take. So that's how I got into the company, because it's everything sort of goes hand in hand. And mind body, when we say mind body, it seems like it's separate, but it's actually not. Everything's connected. But how we're taught, it seems like it's separate from one another. But
not at all. They're more connected than anybody really realizes.
Right. So I can't. So I found it didn't resonate for me to just do EAV without that, because they go hand in hand, and then there's flow. Yeah. So definitely I'll have to get them on.
Yeah, I would love to hear more in depth of the beginnings, the humble beginnings of how this came to be, and definitely.
Yeah,
most definitely. I think that'd be really fascinating. I think it'd be fascinating.
And we had the same vision. When I went into it, I said, I want to open up a children's school. And the guy, Matthew, said, I want to open up a children's school. I went, wow. And it's funny how I met him. I met him through a mutual friend. I did a Reiki for this mutual friend. And in the vision, I saw a man with the Eye of Horus tattoo. And I went, okay. And I wrote it. I'm like, I see the Eye of Horus, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I see you traveling. I said, I see you in the woods. And I said, I see you wearing orange. And this is very strange, because she's a very plain Jane girl, loves black, green, white. That's it. 3 months later, she met this man named Matthew and traveled to BC, where he lives in the interior of BC in the woods. And he has the Eye of Horus. And so she said, you need to meet this person. So I think it was actually a sign for me to meet him through her Reiki. And so then I met him. That's how this happened. Sorry?
I said, there is no coincidence.
No, there is not. So, because we're aligned on the same path. And so that connection needed to happen. And so when I said, I'm interested in developing a school for children, he said, so am I. And so now we're building out that curriculum together, and it's actually happening. So it's real now. It's real.
Beautiful. That's amazing. Have you got any insight into, do you guys have a projection in terms of getting it going? I'm sure it's in the early stages, but if you have any insight into, is it just in that stage, or have you gotten to a point where you know where you're going to be doing this? Is there?
Yeah. So with the children in China, so it's going to start with China. So I'll be working my mornings, because it'll be their evenings. We're 12 hours apart, and it's going to start for September. Yeah. So
wow.
September, 3 months at a time program. We'll build as we need to. The summer program is that pre-beta. So it's kind of like that appetizer. So that can start anytime in July or August. Parents and children can choose any 4 weeks in either July or August, but the actual full program will begin in September. It's already a few lessons in preparation, like the curriculum, it's laid out, the outline's already done. And I'm building out the actual 28 whatever lessons that there are. So it'll be all ready by the time September starts.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
We'll have to have you back on somewhere down the road, and we'll have to revisit and see what's happened and how things, because I have no doubt that things will expand and go further in different ways, will be enhanced as well.
It will. And that's why we're doing that mini, program in North America because we don't want to just leave it. We don't want to just have it in China. We want it all over the world. And I live in North America, so why not? Right. So, initially it'll be online through Zooms, but then, in years to come, build out physical schools for this to actually happen. So right now, helping children navigate with themselves and the world around them. What's going on here is how we can help you be mindful and be in the present moment. Here are the tools and strategies that you can use in everyday life, even when you're done with us. That's what we want. Like after they're finished with us, they have the tools and strategies to continue to be successful and to be able to self-regulate and to be able to basically go from high beta brainwave state to beta or alpha, so they can regulate just like that. And not have something affect them, for days at a time, sort of thing. So, yeah, big and exciting.
That's interesting. Very interesting. Do any of your colleagues know what you're doing?
Yes, and some of my colleagues, they see me actually as well, and I see children as well, even in bioenergetics. I actually just saw a child today, and it was quite interesting because I said to the child, on a level of 1 to 10, I said, how would you rate your stress level? And he said 3. And this is a 10-year-old. He goes 3. I go, oh, okay. And then I checked what's called conductivity, how electricity is running in the body.
Right.
And he scored an 86, which anything 80 or above means stress. He's stressed.
Oh, yeah.
And I went, oh, honey, you're very stressed. He went, no, I'm not. And I said, you are, but you've been in that state for so long. That's your baseline. That's your normal. You don't know what it's like to not be stressed. And then I have a folder that tests emotions as well. And anger came up, rage came up, impatience came up, stubbornness came up. A whole bunch of emotions came up for him as well. And he kind of just went, oh, I said, you're in what's called a fight or flight. He goes, I know what that is. He goes, and there's freeze. And I said, yes, and there's fawn. He goes, what's fawn? I said, that's your homework. Look up what fawn is.
You come back and tell me.
So see, that's the thing. So you can see that he's a child that doesn't realize he's stressed. He needs this type of program, right? Because it's actually affecting his liver. He came to me because his eyes are bloodshot and his face is red. And that to me means a fiery liver, because there's pent up anger and emotions and things. And this is a child who's gone through, his parents have been divorced, and his dad always nags at him and treats him very poorly. So this is where all these emotions they're being produced and stored in his liver. And this is what's causing these physical symptoms. So that's what I'm saying. Like, yes, EAV is great because I can see what's going on in the body. But then now adults and children need something to be able to deal with their emotions. So it, doesn't get to that state, because then they won't put 2 and 2 together in the future and say,
well,
oh,
no, and as far as we go, different eras of people, it's one of those things where we only know what we know as we were raised, right?
Right.
Now we've changed, obviously, in terms of our way of thinking and knowing the sources as opposed to what the common medical world will tell us. And, as I always reiterate on these, it's not that the medical world is not needed, because we definitely need doctors and we still need pharmaceuticals.
Yes.
Just not quite as often as it gets put out there. Right. There are other means and methods that are natural that will actually get to the source of the problem, especially, as you said, and this is what I've been faced with in a lot of ways, is a lot of people are coming and saying, well, I had MRIs and I've had CAT scans and I've done this and I've done this. And they're saying they can't find anything, and they're not going to.
Right. It's not a physical issue. Right. It just manifests as a physical issue.
Well, and this is it. So, and that's when we come into play, right? Is in our different ways is that, okay, so we're going to help you get to the root of this and start working on it in order to, because people don't realize that these different things that we go through, we carry energies from lifetime to lifetime, whether it be past life, ancestral, karmic, whatever, right. This life. It's one of those things where they're carried forward. They're right in our DNA cellular bodies.
Exactly.
And people they can't wrap their head around this, that, well, no, because I was born, I was a little seed, I was that little tadpole, and all of a sudden here I am. How can that be carrying that? People really have a difficult time wrapping their head around this.
Yeah, it's not easy to explain, especially if you're not in that world, it's been talked about, right? And it's not really, it's only now that people are more so bringing that to light and to attention. Just like that mother, when I told her, well, this emotional remedy is going to help her, and she was like, how's that possible? And I had to explain, the sigmoid or the colon is where you hold on to all the emotions, and that's why constipation, you're literally not letting go. You're not letting go. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's always interesting, Some people will come and they'll be curious and they'll say, well, I don't care how they got there. Let's just get rid of them, Sometimes they just want to do whatever it takes to make things better. But it's coming. It's one of those things, as I say to people, you go back centuries before we had doctors, where did people go? Right. Herbalists, naturalists, shamans, medicine people, and they just go right in, right? Oh, of course. Sorry, you might hear my parrot for a minute.
Oh, is that your parrot? I love birds.
She's decided she wants a part of the conversation. Okay. But yeah, and it's one of those things where, and it's coming around again.
Yes, it is.
To the point where many of us have deal with our guidances that there is going to come a time. I don't know that it'll be in my lifetime. In fact, I don't think it will be. It's a long haul, but it is coming. And just in a decade, the leaps and bounds that all of these different modalities have come, they've exploded.
It's amazing.
As a parent, because I've been a Reiki master now for, I don't know, approximately 13, 14 years as well. And that was my humble beginnings. That's a normal investigator. Right. And, I look from then till now. Back then, it was like people were looking at you like you had three horns.
Yep.
Just in that frame of time. And now you look at what's going on with, with medicine work and shamans and like with the stuff that you're doing and, the many different modalities that are working naturally with people as opposed to.
Right. Not just a cookie cutter kind of prescription. Yeah. The Band-Aid, right? You drive your car and when you see the symbol, you're not just going to ignore the symbol. You're going to actually figure out and put oil or gas, or when you see your cell phone running low on battery, you're going to plug it in. Right. But so we have to do the same thing for ourselves. Like we have to plug ourselves in as well and think outside of the box a little bit. It's not just a cookie cutter kind of deal. Not what's going to work for one person is not going to work for another. And like you said, there is a time and place where we do need Western medicine, so
like that, there always will be, but just the problem is it's gotten a little too carried away. I think it's
overdone. It's like
the financial window it's more of the financial window. I think is becoming overtaking what it originally was created for.
Right.
In my opinion, I will state that it's in my opinion.
Right.
But there's various reasons, but I think that's a common thought with most people is that there was the financial aspect.
I agree with that. It's tough when you see business opportunity, right? And so I agree, and I agree. Like there's its place for it, but it's a little overdone, like a song played over the radio over and over again. There's a place for it. I was having an allergic reaction one time, and I needed prednisone, right? Like I needed something to help me in that given moment. And I was on it for 4 days. And then, I detoxed from the medication and then I was okay afterwards. So it is important to have, but yeah, like you said, it can be overprescribed.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. Most definitely. So what about, so let's look at what is an aha moment maybe for you in terms of when you started getting involved in the other side of things of what you're doing, as opposed to just, I shouldn't say just being a teacher because it's a very important position, but in terms of that, I'm kind of leading this because when we kind of discussed previously what was going on, right? You kind of led to that, the allopathic medicine path, how you realize certain things.
So with the education system, there was an aha moment for me during COVID when there were all the mandates. And, we teach our children in school to be critical. Well, we're supposed to teach them to be very critical thinkers, to challenge things. And then I for personal reasons, chose not to participate in some of the mandates. And that would have required me to actually lose my job. So I ended up being very stressed and went on a medical leave. And that was the aha moment for me because I voiced my opinion. I did what we're supposed to be teaching our children, yet I was being shamed for it, and told I was wrong for it.
Not
So
easy.
it was not easy. Um, I went, I was really low. I went to a really low point at that moment. And luckily, I found a group of other educators who were in the same boat as me. We formed a community and we had action plans and we fought for what resonated with us. We didn't want to settle for, what we personally didn't want. And so that was a big aha moment for me with the education system, because like you said, I love teaching children, but I just didn't resonate with the hypocrisy that was going on at that given moment. And now I can't unsee what I saw. Right.
Yeah,
and so,
I have several friends and a very close friend who was actually a casework manager for mental health. And that was not an easy navigation for her through that process in terms of, and she was the same way. There was mandates and whatnot. And she was
right. And so, next year, I'm actually going down to half-time teaching. So I'm slowly transitioning out. I still need the income, but through my modalities, I've saved enough that I can be on half-time for a few years. And this will help me build out.
I don't think it's going to be a few years.
It's going to be permanent. It will be permanent. You can tell me how long you see, but
I don't know how long. I just, back when you first started talking earlier in this interview, it was immediate. It was like, no, she won't be teaching for long.
Well, my Reiki.
There's a reason you're doing what you're doing, and it's because you're gonna completely get away from it.
Well, it's funny you say that because my Reiki master, who taught me Reiki and who did Reiki on me 4 years ago, before this even, or when this was all starting, or even before it all started, she said to me, "I see you teaching, but I don't see you teaching in the board." She goes, "But you're teaching," and I went, "Well, what the heck am I doing?" But now I know what I'm doing because it's to fruition right now. So yeah, so I'm going down to half-time so that I can continue to build this out.
Well, that's how I did it.
Yeah.
And that's basically what we do.
Yep.
You got to keep the income. So you do what you got to do in the meantime. I let go of everything that I was doing. I was a legal assistant, went into administration, and then I left altogether and I worked at the front desk of a hotel.
Okay.
So I could work my own hours.
Wow. Yeah.
While I got the other side of what I was meant to be doing,
Right. So that was the education aha moment. And then the health, physical aha moment was when, like I shared, no one could answer my physical ailments. And suddenly someone who cared about how I was feeling and what my lifestyle was. And, you go into your doctor's office and they have 10 minutes for you and that's it. You're out the door. But, this man spent over an hour with me, talking about me, finding out who I was, because, you're your own best doctor. So he kind of wanted to hear what I had to say. And it was at that moment I went, oh, you actually care about me and you believe me that something is going on, not nothing's going on. And so there was that aha moment there as well. And then, when my pains left through other methods like Reiki and emotion code, those were just aha moments for me too. And I went, okay, there's another way than just the prescription route way. Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, and it's just sort of all coming together. Other aha moments too is just the personal transitions in my life, even, my marriage, the reason why I got the divorce, those were life lessons. And then they were still being shown to me until I actually learned what the message was for me. So they kept coming up. And then I finally went, okay, I need to work on, this now. And
the universe is like a broken record. Until you understand what the lesson is that you're meant to learn. If you don't, it will continue, and it gets a little tougher each time.
It does.
Until you finally go, oh my God, what is going on here? You finally go, aha.
Yeah. And I think sort of all of that and all those little pieces all came together. I loved doing puzzles as children, which is why, my Instagram is Rose Roots, but without the E, Rose Roots, because like root cause, like what's the puzzle? I like figuring out people's puzzles, and like I did them as a child. So
I was going to ask you that too. Because it was Rose Roots. I was going to ask you how you came to that.
He was taken in someone else's, I guess. So My name is Rosanna, and
Perfect.
Rose roots. So I often get Roz roots, but it's okay. I know what it is, but
That's all
yeah,
that matters.
yeah, that's all. That's all.
You can always put that little accent on the top of the O so people know it's an O, not
Oh,
a
yeah, exactly.
that little symbol to recognize that it's an O, not an ah.
But when someone knows, they know. So it's
Exactly.
it's all good.
Exactly.
So yeah, so that's how I came to the name, because like, what is the root cause of what's going on? I like puzzles, and I like digging deep. So it's kind of like, you could just walk on the beach and look at the surface and, oh, there's a nice pretty shell, or you can get your little metal detector out and find out what's underneath the surface of that sand and say, oh, look at this object, look at that object. So I like to dig deeper.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people need right now. They need people to go deep and really show them, this is what needs to be done, and be able to do the work and be able to go in deep.
Mm-hmm. And that's the goal in the end. I'm just there as a facilitator, but really, I want the person needs to do the work. I'm just there helping and facilitating, and I want them to not. Yeah, I don't want them to not need me anymore. Right. The goal is for me that you don't need me anymore.
Well, and see, that's part of what people don't realize. When people come to me and we do all this work together, they're like, "Oh my God, that was powerful. That was amazing. You did a great job." And I said, "No, you did a great job." And they have to really look at you and go, "What do you mean?" I'm a conduit.
Right.
I'm here. I'm the one that allows the energy to come through me, or a spirit, or whatever it is I'm doing. But in essence, I'll take a little bit of the kudos.
Yep.
But in essence, people heal themselves, and that's hard for them to sometimes wrap their head around. That we're not the one. We're not the healer. We are not the healer.
Right.
Per se. Sometimes we use that reference only because lack of a better term, right?
That's right.
It's kind of the way it goes. But to actually say to someone, "Oh, I'm healing you," is more ego. That's not us that's doing it.
No, it's like you said, we're the conduit. We're just the funnel. We're just the means of how it comes through.
Yeah.
I agree. But we heal ourselves 100%.
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly it. You just need a little bit of help once in a while. However that looks, or whatever the modality is, to get it started and get on that path where you can continue to be guided in the direction that you need in order to be able to pursue that journey and path of healing.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah. No, it's great.
It is. It's amazing. I mean, it's, if someone had told me the book that I've written, that's one of the one paragraph in the introduction is it basically, it's just that, it's like, and I often look and I think, you'd have told me about 8 years ago, or a little further even than that. And I did work with shamans from Peru, off and on for about 3 years, years ago. And there were some things that I was told through cocoa leaf readings that they had done. And you really have no idea.
No.
They see it and they give you a little tidbit of what you need to know, but
you have to discover it.
But this is it. It's your path. So it's something that you need to navigate, right? And you need to get to that place where they can help lead you a little further again. But yeah, I mean, would you have thought you were going to be where you are at this point in time?
No, and things have transpired so quickly. So quickly. I would
Especially right now, things are really moving.
Well, especially just between January and now for me, like through that transition from Pisces to Aries, holy cow, things really, really I can't. We were just talking about our youth academy in January, and now it's happening. Like, it's actually like we've built it out so quickly.
Timelines have gotten much quicker, and they've kind of like cutting the fat out. They just it's like bang. Even in the last, I'm going to say 3 to 4 years, from the messages that I and others had gotten going into COVID, in terms of what was going on, and then watching the amount of people with the veil thinning, with what's going on, the amount of people that are kind of going, "Ooh, what's going on?" And it's just like everything's flourishing and blooming so much more rapidly than it ever has.
Yeah.
right? Which is beautiful.
No, it's great. It's great. Yeah, a lot of people are telling me the same thing, actually.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Yeah. So So no, I never thought I would leave my comfort zone. Right. I never thought that, but I was stuck in conditioned patterns. And so hitting rock bottom forced me to visit what those conditioned patterns were and why I was reacting to things. And everything was really a lesson for me. Everything was a mirror of what I was experiencing. And I finally had to face it. And so then once I learned that, things have transpired so quickly for me. And it seems like for a lot of people as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's happening very universally right now. It's a must. So that's a whole other show.
Right.
With what's playing out with that type of thing going on. So that's awesome. Maybe at some point down the road, once you start doing this pre-beta, and you're doing this stuff, maybe we'll have to revisit, any changes and things and upgrades and, how things maybe have changed. And
yeah, there'll probably be lots of changes.
There is going to be.
Oh, wow. Now you've intrigued me. But yeah, no, I don't doubt that. It's just, you don't know what it is, but it's exciting. So
yeah, as you go. And once you, like I said, I think it's going to be sooner than you think that you'll be doing more of this more on a full-time basis as opposed to the part-time.
I was thinking that today. I actually have 11 years left of teaching. And I called the pension company. I said, if I do this for 11 more years, what does my pension become? And they told me, and I went, okay, because I can go to half-time for 2 years and then you're expected to go back to full-time before you can go back to half. But I might not even be involved with the board.
Well, it's one of those things where I know from a friend of mine and readings that we had done together. She had a pension coming too, and they explicitly told her, don't worry about it. One of the things I will say on an ending note here, there was a mantra, it's short and sweet, that I was given through some difficult times that I was having financially back some time ago. And the mantra was, I throw open the door to the universe and allow the universe to lead me where I need to go and know that I will always be taken care of. And this was something that was given to me, but on a different note, she was told, don't worry about the pension, because as you go forward, things are going to happen in ways that it's not going to make a difference with or without it. Right.
Right.
So,
no matter what.
I'm kind of seeing that kind of thing with you too. That's what kind of came up. So,
okay. That's great.
Just don't dig your heels in just yet. Don't let it go, but just.
That's exactly what I feel. I'm keeping it for a little bit, but it won't be there forever. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to take
great.
time. So thank you so much, Rosanna. This has been a wonderful discussion. And there will be links. I'll put the email, Instagram, and website up for the information for people to reach out to you.
Great.
That'll be included with the video. For those that did not get to watch it live, for those that will join us on the replays, thank you to all. And if you have any questions at all, by all means, reach out to Rosanna. She's on our WCLC as well now. And of course, like I said, the links will be on there to reach out to her. Is there any last words that you had that you wanted to?
Just thank you for the opportunity. The universe always shows me people. That's so.
You too.
So, so thank you very much for having me.
Thank you too. And I look forward to speaking to you somewhere in between as well.
Sounds great.
And we'll stay in touch. And okay. I'll let you know when we're out and going so you can share this out there and get this out there and get your work going.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rosanna. Have a great evening.
Bye.